Hello and welcome back to the latest edition of the Morning Bulletin here on the Blood Red channel. I'm your host, Edward Kay. Joining me once again today is Tom Beattie. And, we'll start with a little review of yesterday's game. Obviously, I think it was the only game in the Premier League where neither side could actually change position no matter the result. So pretty much the most irrelevant game of the day, obviously. Liverpool's fate, Europa League, already decided and Southampton already down. But it was an exciting one at least, plenty of goals. And what did you think of it, Tom?
It was definitely a dead rubber, obviously, for both teams, but I think both teams definitely went on it. I think, relative to their own kind of standings in the game, obviously, it's been a disappointing season for both teams, really. They've been relegated and we've missed out on the top four. But I think both teams kind of wanted to end the season on a high. And I think it's difficult to kind of divulge any big kind of takeaways from the game itself. It struck me a little bit like a bit of a training exercise or almost like a bit of an exhibition game. And it was kind of, a chance to really say goodbye to, a few departing players, obviously, from Liverpool. There'll be a lot more at Southampton for them. And yeah, even, other than Roberto Firmino and James Milner, there's possibly a couple of players in Liverpool squad that, might not be there next season as well. Obviously, Kelleher, the goalkeeper, he started the game, and Joel Matip, there's been rumours about both of them possibly moving on this summer. So it might be the last Liverpool fans see of them as well. So it just kind of had that feel about it, the game, didn't it? And it was really topsy-turvy at times. Obviously, it was a bit of a sort of wider metaphor for what the season's been like for Liverpool in some respects. I think, defensively, we were pretty awful. It was one of the worst performances, I think, of the season defensively. Just, concede 4 against the relegated teams, never good. But up the other end, I think we were pretty devastating at times. And, Bobby Firmino, I think, will be really missed as well. He had a great game. So, yeah, it was a difficult one to divulge anything major from, but it was more kind of, I think, for sentiment, the game of the weekend. And, it's not often that Liverpool come to the end of the season and there's nothing to play for. So it was a bit of a sort of a unique game in some respects, certainly in the Klopp era. So, yeah, it was a difficult one to really analyse in some respects, but, it was an interesting game as well.
Yeah, as you said, not really too much to be taken away from that one. And it was sort of, obviously, it's not the perfect end to the season, but for the season that Liverpool had, it perfectly suited, everything that's gone on this year. As you say, so poor defensively, but still pretty lethal in attack. We'll move on to the transfer rumours, which I suspect is what we're going to spend most of our summer talking about now. So buckle in. We'll start with Alexis Mac Allister. Obviously, he continues to be linked with a move to Anfield, among others. We're seen in tears at the final whistle after Brighton's 2-1 defeat to Villa. And De Zerbi later confirmed that he's expecting him to leave the club in the summer. Obviously, Liverpool, one of the clubs in for him, one of the favourites. We've heard conflicting reports recent weeks that City might be in for him as well. Obviously, they'd be big rivals. But do you think Liverpool stand a pretty good chance of getting him in the summer?
Yeah, I think Liverpool seem to be the front runners. I think all the noise kind of coming out of the wider media at the moment seems to be that deal's kind of at a bit of a advanced stage in some respects. So that seems to be the transfer out of it. All of the rumours that have been knocking about in the past couple of months, that seems to be the one that seems to be the most kind of concrete. And obviously the scenes at the end of the season versus Aston Villa for Brighton, that kind of showed that Mac Allister seems to be on his way. De Zerbi obviously pretty much confirmed that as well in his post-match interview. And obviously Moises Caicedo as well might be the next one to go. So yeah, Brighton, I've said on a couple of streams before this, I do have a bit of sympathy. Even Liverpool have been in that position before where we've had kind of our best players cherry-picked. But, they've kind of maybe come to the end of a cycle, I think, at Brighton in some respects. And those two players, I think, are ready for a move to a bigger club, and obviously Liverpool is one of them. So just judging by the scenes yesterday, I kind of feel like maybe the Mac Allister deal seems to be pretty advanced at this stage, and I would be surprised at this point if he did, obviously stay at Brighton. I think that's pretty much confirmed that he will go. And I do think Liverpool must be the front runners because of the noises that have been coming out of the media recently.
Yeah, and I think getting in, somebody who won the World Cup in December, and he's had such a great season for Brighton. I think it would be a bit of a signal of intent if they could get that one done nice and early in the window, like they often do with their business. But another midfielder, Premier League midfielder, who's going to be leaving his club in the summer, Ruben Neves, obviously the Portuguese midfielder, been at Molineux for 6 years, I think. It's constantly linked with Liverpool, Barcelona. Every January, every summer, is linked with a big move somewhere, it seems. And obviously, he's finally going to be moving on. What do you think the chances are that his destination could be Anfield?
I've always felt that maybe his kind of destiny might be a Barcelona. That's always kind of been the one that stuck out to me. It's always seemed to be the strongest link with Ruben Neves. He's obviously a very good player, and I think we've seen obviously over the last few years that he has got a goal in him. They're often spectacular goals as well. And he's a bit of an odd player to judge in some ways because he plays kind of a holding midfield role, but he has got a bit of an eye in the final third as well. So yeah, he will be an asset to whoever he does end up playing for next season. Like you say, it does seem pretty much guaranteed that he will leave Wolves after 6 years. So yeah, it seems like he's another player really who's ready to make that step up to one of the elite clubs now. But yeah, I just kind of sense that it won't be Liverpool. I don't think he quite fits in with what Jurgen Klopp is quite looking for this summer. Klopp's obviously got, so many problems to fix in the squad. And I'm not kind of being dramatic saying that. It's just the case that, he's got 3 first team midfielders leaving. Obviously, if you add Arthur Melo to that, it's another squad member to replace. I think he probably needs a centre back as well. So I think being really kind of specific with the players that he does target this summer is really important because it is a pivotal summer, I think, for the club. Because I don't think they can afford to not be in the Champions League next year. That's for sure. So yeah, I don't really think he's a player I'd be targeting. I don't think he quite suits our style of play in some respects. So yeah, I wouldn't really expect him to end up at Anfield this summer, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I don't think he's really the right sort of player to be bringing in if you're looking to really re-energise a midfield. And as you say, I mean, he gets linked with Barcelona every window, so I think that one would be a pretty good move for him. We'll finish on a bit of news about potential outgoings, this time on loan, no transfer. But Championship title winners Burnley are being linked with a move for Fabio Carvalho, as we say. It would be a loan deal, we think. Obviously not a transfer. He's only been at Liverpool a year. But, I mean, I think for me, the thing Carvalho has really struggled with this season is he's not really been able to hold down a position in the side because he seems so lightweight and he looks like he just needs to. I know he's a young lad. He just needs to grow a bit, put a bit more muscle on. I mean, going to a side like Burnley, obviously they're not what they were under Sean Dyche. Obviously, they play some pretty good football in the Championship under Vincent Kompany, and they've sort of walked the league really. And they'll be back in the Prem next season. Do you think Burnley would be a good loan move for him?
Yeah, I think he just needs regular minutes, really. And I wouldn't really be adverse to him even dropping back into the Championship. Obviously, he did have that season where he was really good for Fulham before he ended up at Liverpool. But it does seem like a really good fit, Burnley. Obviously, like you say, they've come up playing a really nice brand of football. I think he'd maybe fit in with what Vincent Kompany's trying to do with Burnley as well. But yeah, ultimately, he does need experience, I think, in the tank. And he's looked a bit of a square peg in a round hole, I think, this season for Liverpool. And he has, I think he has impressed his manager in terms of his application off the pitch and, obviously his professionalism. He's not really had a look in this season. But yeah, it remains to be seen really whether he's a typical Klopp player in some ways. And I think the criticism or constructive criticism in a way that Jamie Carragher made it about 6 months ago, was that, basically Liverpool have brought in players who maybe are slightly more diminutive, a bit more technical in the past couple of windows, and perhaps that looks a bit of a mistake now in some respects, because Liverpool this summer will probably be going out to get some kind of industrious midfielders, I think, and trying to get that energy back into the side. And whether Carvalho will ever be a player who can kind of set the press and sort of recycle possession really well, only time will tell. But yeah, I think he just needs to go away, almost find himself as a player, see where he kind of fits in, I think, as a player, and maybe come back to Liverpool, have a pre-season under his belt after that, and see where he is. But he's obviously a good player, and I think that he will go on to have a very good career in the game. Whether it's at Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp is it remains to be seen, obviously, because this season, he probably didn't have a better chance in some respects to break into the side. We've had that many gaps to fill. I think it's rather telling, the likes of Stefan Bajcetic and Harvey Elliott have had regular minutes this season. Curtis Jones has worked his way back into kind of younger players have had that chance this season to kind of stake a claim. And Carvalho's just not really been able to really have a look in after a decent start to his career at Liverpool, but didn't really kick on after that. So yeah, I think the next couple of years are really important for him. But yeah, I think a loan move would really suit him. And, he's still at kind of a development stage, so I don't really want to judge him too harshly. But yeah, I think he still needs to go away and kind of find himself as a player in some respects.
Yeah, I think regular minutes definitely what he needs for his development, as you say. I mean, it's just not happened for him at Liverpool this season, really. But as you say, it remains to be seen what his Liverpool career could hold, and he could eventually nail down a position in the side. I think that's been his problem, really, hasn't it? We still don't really know what his best position is in that Liverpool team, whether it's on the left, whether it's in a midfield three, but remains to be seen, as you say, whether he'll find that position. And that's all we've got time for today on the Morning Bulletin. So, Tom, thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.